This episode is going to be the rear suspension for my 1969 Mustang. This is Project Nightshade. Now, like the front, I'm doing the TCI kit. So it's come as a bundle. I've got all of my parts here. I've got my brackets for the rear end, which I need to narrow yet. The rear end's sitting in the other room. All of the hardware that came with it, the crossbars, the Panhard bar bracket, which, if you remember, I powder coated some of this stuff in some primer. I've also got my subframe connectors, the 3-link torque arm bar, and this is just the center cross stiffening bar with the drive shaft hoop on it. Now, to bring you up to speed on the car, where I've left off is front suspension's in, rear has the Detroit Speed tubs in it. Everything has been raptor lined real nice. I'm super happy with the way it turned out. You'll see everything's caulked as well. The brackets are in real clean. I'll get you a shot of the back here.
So with this kit, they sent the instruction manual, and this is super helpful. It's got some pictures, it's got some text, it tells you what you need step by step. And this part's pretty simple. You line it up with the existing hole that's there. It gives you a little bolt for a locator, and you snug everything down. You see me do it on both sides here, and what this does is it gives me the location that I need for the stiffening plates that go above it. These plates work once they're locked in. They get drilled and plated from the top. But you can see here there's a decent angle, which I'm not crazy about. If I had a longer drill bit, I could fix that, but I don't. So I'm going to use this marker. This marker here is just one of the cheap Amazon ones that work really good. It's a transfer one. Highly recommend them if you don't have a set. They're good for getting in tight places. And you'll see right here, after I've got them marked, I take the bracket back off and run the drill up through each one of those holes. And here's a shot of the top plates that go in. They just have some Allen head bolts and a couple of nuts that lock in from the bottom. Here I'm just putting on the nuts, everything finger tight. I'm really gonna need a second set of hands to lock all of this in. That way I can hold it and secure it from the bottom while somebody on the top runs the ratchet. I've found from doing the driver's side that if you use a real small drill bit from the bottom, you can come up to the top side and drill them from the top, and then you don't have to worry about all the shavings falling on you.
Natalie, I need an extra set of hands in the garage. Will you give me a hand? Hey, I need some help in the garage working on the Mustang. Will you give me a hand? No? No? Oh, hey, Maddie, you're my last hope. I need help in the garage working on the Mustang. Will you give me a hand? Yeah? Awesome. Let's do it. Give me some.
So for this part, you have to have a second set of hands. You can't be in both places at the same time. And I try to make it nice and cozy for her. Put a couple gloves down so the next time I ask for help, hopefully she comes out.
This is epoxy. This is epoxy.
How do you know that they're tight?
I feel them on my foot.
You feel them with your foot?
Well, there you have it. If you need a proper torque spec, just call Skylar and she'll check it with her foot. So this part here, these are the subframe connectors, right? And you'll see that I had to do a little bit of tapping, but they weren't going in and they weren't fitting quite the way that they were supposed to on the paper. Part of the reason that they wouldn't fit is the back of the subframe in the front here has these little tabs on it that need removed, and you can see that I did it right here. I just took the little triangle off and squared everything up and tried to remove enough material to make those things kind of slide up in there.
Well, I'm off to a tough start here. These subframe connectors line up, and I've taken off as much material as I can. I've basically tried to trim up the ends here. Now I've got to take this one in a little bit, but you'll see on this one, it's taken in farther than the host metal. But I am tight. It's not going any tighter. And sorry if that's loud in the video. So I got two options. I can try to distort the subframe up here and hammer it in and grind more out, but I don't think that that's the ticket. I think the ticket on this one is I need to cut this weld and relax this out. I used my calipers a little bit ago off camera to basically measure the width here compared to here, and what I found was when this one got welded up, this one's almost 80 thousandths, there's about 85 thousandths narrower in the back. So it happens when these things get heat in them, they move around a little bit, and I'm sure they had it in the jig. I'm not sure what happened on this, but I'll cut here and relax this out and then reattach it with some weld. Alright, so that's all she needed. You can see here, there's my cut. And when I set it up in there, it was nice and snug. I gave it a couple of taps and it drew it to the opening just how it needs it. And I'm pretty snug in the back here too. This looks real great. This is gonna get drawn in yet, but I'll go ahead and mark this one, put everything in, and then I can come back and weld this once I know I've got the distance that I need.
Well, everything that gets done on the passenger side gets done twice, right? We get to do it again on the driver's side. This side fit a lot better. Once I removed a couple of these things that were in the way, this one slipped right up in there. What you see here is some sort of bracket. I don't remember if this was for an e-brake or a fuel line or you know what, I think it was for the clutch. Some of the cars had a clutch, and with the manual cable, that's what mounted right here. And I just had to get this off and out of there. It fought me. I drilled out the spot welds, chiseled it, all the traditional stuff. But you see here, it finally came and I was able to clean it up. And then also, if you remember from the early video, I had a pretty boogered up bracket here. That came off also. I'm glad that's gone. That one was kind of it wasn't very sightly. With the subframe connectors in place, just like in the back, everything gets drilled out, and I didn't have to mark these ones. I could do it right here in place because they were short enough. Same technique as before, small drill holes from the bottom, come back from the top. That way I'm not dropping chips on myself, and drilling from the top side. The top plates on these are these big rectangles here. Each of them gets 6 of the Allen bolts, and I staged them here. And this one, because of where it is, you can reach through, right? So your left arm can get to the top or right if you're on dominant hand, and then you can secure it from the bottom. You don't need a second person for this part. You just have to do a little bit blindly. These little Milwaukee ratchets make life so much easier. It takes a lot of time out of it and definitely made this a lot more enjoyable. Now, once everything's pulled up to the floor, that's just to get it where it needs to go. The real support comes from these holes that I'm drilling right here. And these are the bolts that will bolt it to the frame in the front. So the top ones we did, the Allen heads pulled up tight. These ones drill it out, and then 2 grade 8 bolts will actually tie the frame to these subframe connectors. And once that's in, I can put in this body stiffening plate. Now this one, it was a bit of a snug fit. You can see I had to hammer it up in there and then rotate it. It wouldn't go other than with the hammer, but once it was in there and the top bolts were in, it hinged and pivoted real nice and slid up where it needed to go.
So I've got the dry fit going on here, and I'm running into a couple of small issues. So I've got some gaps, which I don't think will be a big deal. I imagine as I draw this in, that'll close those gaps up. This one especially, this is a real large one. I'm hoping that I can draw this in, but the trouble is, as I look at this, I'm already at the end of my slot here. So as this comes in, it's gonna wanna try to pull this bolt farther out on here. I don't know how it's gonna work. I could try to move that plate forward some. And then in the front, I've got this whole bracket about as far back as I can. I may be able to hammer this back a little bit to try to fight some of that, and it may do it on its own. I think as I draw it in, it'll try to pull it. But fitting it in the front, it was snug. I think you saw it in the video there in the time lapse. It was a lot to get that in there. I like a tight fit though. That'll be good. As I tighten these down, it'll all bolt together. But I'm sure once this is powder coated, that's gonna scratch up my powder coat. But it is what it is. But I'll go back to the time lapse and let's see how this draws in. Well, both sides drew in real nice. This side will get a little more once I snug everything in. I think that tab is just bent a little bit from when they welded that in the jig. Okay, so I ground down my brackets here so that these land real nice and parallel, and you can see it here. Now I'm not going to have enough hands to do it, but how I found that was I just came off of a straight edge on reference and just worked my way until I got it just right. And I'll mark that before I tack it. I thought it was strange. This seems like something that they could have done from TCI before sending this to me. I don't know why they didn't weld this on, or I didn't know. But now I understand. Putting this up in here, this thing was all over the place, right? And when I tighten this down, it's gonna move. So it would be a nightmare to try to get all of these holes to line up perfect for this bolt to travel through. That's why they do it. Same thing on the other side. I've trimmed that one. What I'm gonna do is snug everything down and then go ahead and weld this up, and I'll do that on time lapse. So I've got my trailing arms on, and I'm on to my plates for the Panhard bar, and on the driver's side there's one also for the bar that goes across that holds the shocks, the shock mounts. And I knew I was getting a little overzealous when I Raptor lined all of this, but I had extra and I figured I can always just grind it back, and that's what I'll have to do. Per the instructions, you go off of the old shock mount here, or the leaf mount, and off of this inside edge. It's hard to tell in the instructions, but right here on the inside of the tube, I've come in 17.5 inches, and I've made a line. And it's the same on the other side for the other bracket. I did the same thing, came off this inside, 17.5 inches, made a line, because I'm gonna have to clean all of this off, this Raptor liner. Now this is snug. You can see that I started pounding it up in there. It looks like it should fit. It'll get pulled all the way up and welded. Ironically, the only two plates that I powder coated in primer are the two that get welded onto the frame. I couldn't have done that any worse, right? So I've got to take the coating off of this anywhere that I'm going to weld it, and you'll see here in a little bit my bar is going to mount right in here and come across for my shocks, so that's going to get cleaned up as well. There is an area of this that I don't particularly care for, My tubs landed in there real nice, but when I put these plates in here, this one where it's gonna go here, you have some interference. I don't know if the camera shows this, but I've made a ghost line here. Try to catch the angle right. You can see this blue marker. I've made a ghost line where this plate needs to go. In the instructions, it says to pry this away, which I could do, but I've already welded it. Pry it away and tuck this up behind. But if I do that, I'm gonna lose this nice clean edge that I've got right now of the tub on my frame rail. It's gonna be stepped out and I'll have a funky gap there. I'm not crazy about it. So, I could cut this down to the height, which would look real clean, and I wouldn't have to mess with any of this. Or I can go ahead and just trim back this tub, cut it out of the way, and get a higher bite on the frame rail. This is for the shocks. It's going to be welded in multiple places. I don't think it needs to go all the way up this frame rail for stability, but I don't want to risk it. I'm going to be driving this car really hard, so more than likely I'll just cut this tub out. I hate to do it, but I'll cut this tub back, get the plate up there where it goes, and then reattach the tub to the plate. There we are. So off camera, what I did was I marked these are the areas that I need to grind out. I'm going to try to pull out just the material I need to. This is the part that I'm going to cut out of the tub in 86, and then same thing on the other side and the bottom. And see, I've just made a little template. Okay, so with those two plates mounted, I can now cut down my cross member for the shocks. And I've already drawn a measurement. What I need here is 35 3/8. And I still have 2 more rosettes to weld. I haven't forgot about those. But we're all welded all the way around here. And on the bottom. And on the Panhard bar over here. So where that's going to go is from here across, and that's where my shocks are going to tie in, right? And then also the sway bar. Alright, so let's see what it's going to take to cut this down. I've got 36 3/8, and I need 35 3/8. So that's easy enough. I'll take a 1/2 inch off of each side, and that'll give me the distance that I need. The bar's in, And as you saw, I had to manipulate the clamps a little bit, but basically I clamped them on the front side. That way I can get the rotation that I need for my crossbar here. What the instructions say to do at this point is to install the shocks. So put the shocks in, bolt them down, get them snug, and then I'm gonna try to get them parallel to that Panhard bar right there. And that's the end game. So I'll do that next. I'll get the shocks, which I've been waiting a hot minute to get these shocks out of the container, or out of the box. Hopefully they're still in here and I can install them. And some spiders in there too. Okay, so I saw that my brackets were walking on me a little bit, so I added a couple extra clamps. And now I need to make these shocks parallel to the Panhard bar. Now I can eyeball it if I want, but I think the best way to do it is just to do it right. So if I put my gauge on it, I'm at right at 88 degrees, 88.1 or 88 degrees. If I transfer that over to the shock, there we go. I can adjust it until I hit right at 88 degrees. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna get the welder and tack that right where it's at. And if we look down this, you should be able to see it. They'll be perfectly parallel. What's that?
What are you doing to the car?
Oh, I'm putting the rear suspension in. I had to borrow your tape measure, but I put it back, okay? You want to see what I did?
Yeah.
So, I got a bunch of parts in here that are pre-fit. That way we can powder coat them or paint them. And then, I got the Panhard bar bracket in. You know what that is? Which one? Take a guess which one's for the Panhard bar. That's a good guess. It's that one right there.
This one?
Nope, this one up here, right there. I'm just getting ready to weld in the bar that the shocks mount to. So I put lines on it, and I've got to grind it, but it's kind of messy.
Yeah, I think you got a piece of metal on your forehead not poking India, but...
Can you get it for me? Yeah.
I got it on me. That
It was a piece of metal. Thank you. We got a big day tomorrow, right?
Huh?
What's tomorrow?
School.
First day of school. So here's the crossbar, and I'm getting ready to weld it. But before I fully weld this thing, I'm gonna lay a ½ inch of bead in 2 spots opposing, just to make sure it's locked. And from there I can put it up in the car and ensure that it fits correctly before I weld this thing all the way around. It's just an insurance policy to make sure I'm not shooting myself in the foot if for some reason this is a little farther out when I had to hammer it out from the car. Alright, so I'm at a good point right now to tear down what I've got. I need to pull the parts out and go ahead and powder coat things. So before I go any farther, I know that there's nothing else that needs to be welded or attached. Anything that can be unbolted at this point will get unbolted. I'll separate everything and I'll coat it. I have one more spot to weld up here. Remember, we cut this out. I'll weld that up before I disassemble this. So I need to weld this back up from cutting it earlier. And I've already got a jump on some of the parts. So I sandblasted any of the small parts already in preparation for coating. The bigger parts got acid dip. And you can see that a lot of it now has been wrapped and ready. I still need to foil off the holes in the openings. Hello. And then the rear end is hiding right now inside of the oven. I'm pre-baking that. So everything will get coated. The color that I'm using for the rear end is gonna be a flat black. It's a color that I've used a good bit in the past. It's called Blackjack. I think it'll give it a real nice look. And here's a piece right here. And for the color, I'm gonna use this forged charcoal, which is a super cool color. That'll give it a little bit of accent without being super loud and in your face. But the next time you see these parts, they will all be powder coated. All right, it's turning into another long night, but I've got the clear coat on my crossbar here, my frame stiffeners, and on the subframe connectors in here, they're on the final bake. They've got the coating, the epoxy, and then they've also got the base and now the clear. And here's a shot of the rear end, which is sitting over here out of the way.
So here you see me reinstalling the kit. Everything's been powder coated, and just like we saw before, this is just a very quick time lapse of me putting in the subframe connectors, the stiffening bar, and all of the components working up to installing that rear end. It's definitely worth it. I know it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it to put everything in, get it welded, fit, ground where you need it before these things get coated. And I kind of learned that the hard way on some of this stuff. And once everything else was in, I could get ready to drop that rear end housing in. I've now got the center section in it, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking out the video of me narrowing the rear end, and it shows how I welded these brackets on and the steps I went through to narrow the rear end.
I got a serious question for you. That bearing there, is that a pilot bearing or a pirate bearing?
Pirate bearing.
It's a pirate bearing? Okay, so the rear end is wrapped up at this point. I've got the center section in and painted. All of the brackets have been welded on. Everything's powder coated real nice. I did have to play around a little bit with my brackets for the brakes. I drilled a new pattern on it and I took the spacers out. That way they'd work with this modified front end brake system that I had laying in the shop. Hats are on the calipers, or I'm sorry, the hats are on the rotors. And I've got the calipers sitting out as well. And I'm at the point now where I can put this on jack stands and get the wheels on it.
This rear end was a heavy bugger, but I got it down on the jack stands and got the wheels mocked up just to make sure that everything would fit the way that I hope. Now, I messed up when I narrowed this thing the first time, just being transparent with it. I took all my measurements off of the housing center, and I should have off the pinion center. The brackets were right, but the end caps were a little off, so I got to cut and narrow this rear end twice. But once it was done, I'm super happy with the way it turned out. Here's a shot of it all together and up in the car, and it just looks real clean. It was worth the work. The torque arm gets installed on top of a glove just so it doesn't get scratched, and you'll see me here linking everything together and just getting that in place roughly for now.
Alright, so a couple of issues that I've run into. I've started hooking up these pinion tubes, these rods here that set the pinion angle, and what I found is because I have a rear end center from Speedway, it's the reinforced 2-rib center, or third member, and that rib is causing me to have some interference issues here. So it's actually hitting this rib before it's finding its home. And I've got a little bit of pinion angle in it, but as I add more, it gets worse. So that's issue number one. I need to decide if I'm gonna try to relocate these to the outside, which I think is gonna cause a binding issue, unless I do it down here as well, or if I'm gonna notch the rib, which right now, I hate it, but I'm leaning towards notching that rib. And then my second issue is the Panhard bar. I didn't think to check this. I just assumed, since it has a bunch of throw with 2 Heims joints, that it would be fine, but I'm 1.5 inches out. So I've got this thing tightened all the way down, and it is still 1.5 inches from fitting. Okay, so I got a little impatient, waiting on Monday to come around, and what I did was I clearanced out this third member. Now, I have enough meat in the center rib that I don't think I'm going to hurt the integrity of this too much, and I've got that extra rib, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. But I've just made a channel here so that hopefully I can get this back in and set that pinion angle that I need. And while I'm waiting for that email, I've been thinking about it. I had some extra parts in this kit that came in for a kit that was not mini-tubbed. So I'm wondering if this is the Panhard bar for a non-mini-tubbed Mustang, but I'll know for sure on Monday when I get that email back.
Well, I called TCI and they said that they have to notch the third members. That's pretty standard, and the bar I had was for a non-tubbed car. So because mine's tubbed, I took about 2 inches out and reinstalled it in the back here. Now, the distributor I got it from didn't give me a PO number, so unfortunately, I don't know that I got a lot of warranty with this kit. I was unhappy to hear that from TCI, but it is what it is. Looking at the back here, you can see I got it back together. I did touch it up with a little bit of red paint, thought it would give it a cool accent. I was wrong. It looks silly, so that part will get back out and it will get repowder coated. But man, the underside of this car, here's a shot of the finished product now that everything's in there, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, everything looks clean. The rear powder coat matches the front suspension here. And you'll notice also I Raptor lined the rest of the car. So in the front here, everything is Raptor lined, the top, the bottom, the back. Everything got ground and wire brushed. And what I'm left with is just a real clean product. And I'm excited to see what this does as far as performance. I won't be able to set the pinion angle on the back yet until I get the transmission in. And that'll be in one of the coming videos. It won't be long, and the motor and tranny will be in the car. But as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.